All right. Oh, look what we have here. Justin Cohey is calling in late. Justin Cohey on CPT. It's all good, man. All right, welcome. Brand new episode, Fanatics MMA Show. I am your host, Eric Lewis. It is Friday, October 26th, and today we're going to talk about probably a lot more random crap than MMA as usual. I'm saying
What
Cohey.
the fuck is that going on?
I'm guessing that's Cohey with.
Coey, what the hell? Even on Skype, you're causing a commotion?
I can't grab a beer?
Not without offering us one.
Well, come on over.
Oh, I wish. I really do wish. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? Let's see. We are going to talk about stuff. Lots of stuff. Good stuff. Bad stuff. In between stuff. I'm actually going to tell you what it is. Hold on a second, everybody. All right, so we're going to talk about some new matchups. Of course, I think we there's some really interesting ones that were made in the last week or so. We are going to talk about the deaths of Jeff Blatnick and Emmanuel Stewart. We're going to talk about Dana White and him saying the women's division is coming to the UFC. It's amazing how fast a turnaround that was from like maybe a year ago, where he was adamant there was no depth in the women's division. That's why it wasn't in the UFC. And Ronda Rousey has apparently changed his mind greatly. So I think a lot of people are wondering how that decision was made so quickly. It doesn't hurt that she's cute, I'm sure. And I'm also equally sure she's not interested in any of his old man advances. What were you going to say?
I was going to say balls, but, whatever.
She's not interested in his old man balls. That's probably pretty accurate.
All right. Or the bald old man's balls.
Yeah. Boy, that just completely ruined our chances of getting credentialed by the UFC.
Oh, like that was happening anyway.
I know, right? What else are we going to talk about today? I do want to talk briefly about an article that Loretta Hunt wrote on SportsIllustrated.com. The title of the article is "Landmark Deal Between UFC and Fox Has Fallen Short of Expectations." I know we talk about it a lot on the show, but I thought it was a really well written article. I sent Loretta Hunt a Twitter message with the phone number. Maybe she'll call in. That'd be pretty boss if Loretta Hunt called in. If she doesn't, I mean, she said she would try. I'll accept that. At least she replied, which is a lot more than you can say for a lot of other people in the MMA industry who think that their shit don't stink. But whatever.
She's considerate. She always replies and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I like about her. She gets a lot of shit, but I'm a fan.
Of course she does. She's a woman covering MMA.
Yeah. You sexist assholes.
And she's honest. I think that's her worst thing right there. She's honest and calls it how it is, while she doesn't, suck the teat.
Yeah, but she would receive less flack if she was a male being honest.
MMA.
Like the world.
The world. You guys suck.
Oh, Earth.
America.
I mean, there are other countries that have had, women leaders well before the U.S. And countries that you're like, really?
Well, U.S. hasn't had. What are you implying about Barack Obama?
Wow. Well, the only thing I can imply is that he's going to win.
You don't have to imply that. That's happening. There's going to be a rude awakening for some people come November 6th.
I don't know. I can't.
In the bag.
I wish I could see the O faces of everybody when that happens.
The oh shit face.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to read Facebook Tuesday night, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Week and a half. Oh, it's going to be a blast. What happened? They stole the election.
That's exactly right. We stole the election. All the black people got together and agreed on something.
Those voter ID laws didn't work.
I don't know. Wasn't well thought out enough. Kind of like Romney's third debate, not well thought out enough.
I I didn't think he did terribly, but he lost.
I thought he did horrendous. That was the worst one I've seen him do.
You know, some people see his lack of resistance as being, you know, the signs of a great leader. But I want a leader that's going to fight back. You know, you want a leader that's got some spunk. You want somebody who's going to take the initiative and really, you know, try to drive home their policies and their beliefs. And Romney didn't show that. So to me, that is not the good signs of a leader. But whatever. We're not going to talk politics.
We're alienating some people now, but hey, that's the way it goes.
I know. We lost our entire Republican listener fan base.
I think there were one or two.
I would apologize, but I think you're all sexist, homophobic, sexist.
Yeah,
sexist.
if you think rape is God's will, you can go straight to hell.
No. Rape babies.
Rape babies. I'm sorry. If you think,
let's be clear.
Yeah. Well, if Jesus, yeah, that's much better.
I mean, of course, the rape is also God's will, obviously. But
apparently.
let's take it further. The rape baby.
Because it has to result in God's willed rape baby.
Yes, exactly. That's the only logical conclusion we can come to, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully we got
and the whole thing is, you know, he's only wrong because he's saying it. They believe it. The bad thing is that he said it. It's not like he's espousing a heretical view for the Republicans. This is the view. You're just not supposed to say it. And a lot of people are saying it, like Aiken and this clown. I mean, that's their policy.
I don't know. I've become very bitter.
Although some of them allow for exceptions for rape and incest. Not everyone does, obviously.
I'm saying I'm hoping our rape baby fan base just went up. You think so? No?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe. Hopefully we gained a couple of viewers there. Because that's a demographic everybody covets right there. The rape baby demographic. Oh, we are such terrible people. What's wrong with us?
Oh, my God.
We are
Holy
such
hell.
terrible people. You notice I lumped the rest of us, the rest of you guys in.
Yeah, I'm covering my face right now. There's no point in me covering my face because no one can see me. But
rape babies happen to make up a disproportionate amount of the MMA fan base.
Oh my God!
See a lot of them. Incest babies as well.
And people with fetal alcohol syndrome.
Exactly. You know what's funny?
Disproportionately represented among the fan base.
You know what's funny? Every time I see our downloads for our episodes, they go up every week, and I don't understand why. We are so insensitive.
There's a lot of people that are insensitive.
Apparently.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad when you watch an episode of Gangland and FightFans Radio ends up on some Aryan Brotherhood network or something.
Let's listen to FightFans Radio.
That colored girl sure knows her stuff. Did he call me colored? I think he did. Just so all you white people know that it's completely inappropriate to be calling anybody colored. We are people of color, not colored. Just so you know. When I went to I visited why am I forgetting? The Monticello in Virginia, which is the home of Thomas Jefferson. And we took the slave walk there where you could see where all the slaves lived and blah, blah, blah. And there was a gentleman who asked a question, did they have overseers? And the woman who was giving the tour said, yes, they did. And he said, were they white or were they colored? I was like, really? I was like, did he say colored? He did say colored. But you know what? We were in Virginia, and I realized maybe that was him being politically correct. Maybe that's his version of correct.
That substituted for what he was going to say.
So you know what? I thank that gentleman in the hat who asked the colored people question. Because, it could have been worse. It can always be a lot worse. I'm not going to be too totally offended. Maybe he doesn't know the term African American. Maybe they just don't use that term where he's from. Even though I don't like that term either.
So somebody went up to Mike after one of his fights down south in UFC. Good fight, boy.
Wow.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Good fight, boy. Nice.
Holy shit.
So, I guess, speaking of Mike, this is an excellent segue. Let's talk about some matchups. Look at that. I know. David Wolf.
I don't know if that was an excellent segue, but...
It's a segue.
It was
That's all.
it was a good enough
It's a segue
segue.
that works.
It was a good enough segue. So some of the matchups that were made, I'd love to get you guys' opinion on that. I know Kohi didn't seem very excited about this matchup. Mike Easton is supposed to be meeting T.J. Dillashaw. I'm not even sure which event that is. What event is that? Do you guys know?
It's that
Fox
UFC
card.
Fox.
Oh, is it on Fox? Oh, Erica might actually be there for that one.
On the Fox portion, but it's on the UFC on Fox Fight Club.
Erica will actually be there for that one. What?
Ooh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to. Well, the plan is now for me to go to Seattle for the Fox card. So.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah, I'm excited.
What a great card.
It is. It's a fantastic card,
buy.
and I get to visit Jimi Hendrix and Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee's graves, and
Kurt Cobain.
Is Kurt Cobain there too?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, I mean that makes sense. That makes complete sense. Oh wow, I'm just gonna be living it up with dead people while I'm there. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be really awesome.
Might prove more rewarding than some of the live people that'll be around.
Yeah, whatever. Living people sometimes suck. So what do you guys think of that matchup? Kohi expressed kind of about that matchup, but I feel like Mike Easton has been matched up with a lot of guys who are, Jared Papazian aside, a lot of guys who've been afraid to really push it with Mike, and that has resulted in some not fantastic performances for Mike Easton that are not his fault. But I think T.J. Dillashaw is really going to push it. He's he's a good grappler. It'll be good to see Mike Easton use some of that TLI jiu-jitsu against him. So what do you think? Well, David, what do you think of the matchup? Mike is your friend, so what do you think?
I was hoping Mike would get a bigger name. At this point, T.J. Dillashaw had his success on Ultimate Fighter and lost. I think he got knocked out back to his hometown to John Dodson, and that's likely to happen against Mike here as well. But I don't think a win over T.J. Dillashaw sets Mike up for a title fight. I think he still needs a win after that. I would have liked to have seen Brad Pickett. Dillashaw also has good wrestling, but it's been 3 years since that Chase Beebe fight. But Mike's gonna have to use his jiu-jitsu and his wrestling skills, which he's been working on for the past 3 years, and keep it standing. And I think he knocks out Dillashaw. I just don't know if there's as much value in beating Dillashaw as there'd be in someone else. It feels a little bit like treading water. And the matchup, on paper, Dillashaw presents some difficulties in the wrestling department.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Dillashaw's grappling is phenomenal, and he's shown that.
I'd hate to see Dillashaw wrestle fuck Mike for 3 rounds, and then, that would be really upsetting.
That would be quite unfortunate, actually.
Yeah.
That would be disappointing. So, Justin, you were disappointed with this matchup. Are your reasons the same as David's?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I understand that, specifically the last fight with Ivan Menjivar wasn't the most exciting fight in the world. But, I think Mike did his best to try and push the pace and, try to put his hands on Menjivar for the most part. For whatever reason, just ended up not being an exciting fight.
Menjivar was running backwards the entire time.
Well, yeah, that'll do it. But for, to beat someone, clearly like Menjivar, I mean, Menjivar's been, kind of up there.
He was in the mix. He was in the mix for a title shot.
Absolutely. And then, Easton comes in there and beats him. And then, I feel like, Dillashaw.
It's backwards, right?
Yeah, and that was my problem with it. At best, a somewhat lateral move, but to me, I think it's a bit of a step back. And, maybe it's, to get Mike or, that signature win that he probably needs in the UFC right now. But, Dave already brought it up, the loss to John Dodson, and Dodson's a smaller guy than Mike. Mike hits hard as well. I don't think that wins over Wallell Watson, who recently got cut from the UFC, or against Vaughn Lee, who made some horrendous mistakes in his loss to TJ Dillashaw. I don't think that I'm still not completely sold on Dillashaw. I think he's a talented fighter, but I think he's bitten off a little more than he can chew with
It's
Mike.
a big step up.
Yeah, so
and not taking into account John Dodson, which was also a big step up for him and didn't turn out well. But this is at least the same step as fighting John Dodson.
Exactly, and fighting someone who's bigger than Dodson as well.
Yes, exactly. So it's not a fight I like, but if Mike has like what Justin alluded to, if he's got a highlight KO here, that's good. He can use it in UFC. He hasn't shown that yet.
Yeah, I mean the win over I guess it was Byron Bloodworth was the win he got in DC, which is a nice win. Knee to the body and then finished up with some nice strikes on the ground, and he got the loudest pop of the night when he came out. So that was a nice win for him. But again, it was on the prelims of an FX or of a versus card. So even though he's on the prelims of this Fox card, I'd like for them to at least maybe try to show a prelim on the main card, or
Fox has no desire to do that.
Well,
if you recall, the Kane and JDS went 60 seconds, and they didn't show Ben Henderson against Clay Guida.
This is true.
No sense. It makes no sense to me.
Well,
Dillashaw has had some nice. I mean,
over subpar competition.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe it's a combination of the performances not being as exciting as maybe the UFC had hoped, but that they're just kind of trying to. Maybe this is a setup. Maybe this is a setup for Mike to put on a really great performance against somebody that's well known because he was on The Ultimate Fighter.
They have to figure that's the likely outcome. What's the likeliest thing to happen? Mike knocks him out, right?
Right.
May not happen, but
either
at the fight.
This is one of those situations where you can kind of make a name off somebody no matter what happens. If Mike, comes out there and does what we think he's going to do and come out there and knocks out TJ Dillashaw, then he's kind of back into that mix with the hype that he had when he originally came into the UFC. If Dillashaw comes out and ends up beating Easton, then they can be like, oh, well, we have this, Mike came in, Mike was supposed to, be the next big thing, and then TJ somehow beat him. That kind of helps TJ's stock a lot as well.
The only way I see TJ winning is in very boring fashion. I agree the win would help his stock.
Yeah.
I just don't see him winning in an impressive way. I see him winning in a way that would make everybody say, oh shit, I don't want to watch him again.
Right. Well, if no one sees the fight and they just hear that TJ Dillashaw beat Mike Easton.
Yeah. We will see.
Yeah.
I think Mike's going to KO him.
Well, that's the hope, right?
I certainly hope that as well.
I think Mike has a really good chance of winning the fight. The hope is that it's an impressive KO.
Yeah, a really impressive one.
Yeah, absolutely. Other matchups that were made, at least worth mentioning, Rashad Evans versus Little Nog. That seems so.
That's bad for Lil Nog.
Yeah, that seems so.
Rashad's gonna fuck him up.
Lopsided. I don't know.
Oh, that's lopsided.
I mean, who has Little Nog beaten that he deserves a shot against Rashad Evans?
Nobody. I mean, it's such a strange matchup to make, given that we've seen both Ryan Bader and Phil Davis show, and Jason Brills to an extent, what you have to do to beat Little Nog. And Rashad Evans not only has fantastic wrestling, like we saw, in most of his fights, including against Phil Davis, who's a fantastic wrestler in his own right, but he's also an amazing striker. He hits hard and he's fast. And, Little Nog, while talented on the feet and maybe has some semblance of some jiu-jitsu on the ground, we haven't seen him use it too much, is slowing down and can't wrestle for shit.
Right. And so, looking at Little Nog's record so far in the UFC, he beat Luis Kane,
who just got cut.
Congratulations, I guess. Jason Brills.
No, he didn't. He
Who?
lost that fight. Grills beat him,
Oh,
and they gave him the win.
yeah,
He lost that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he looked poor in the Jason Brills fight. A guy who really should have been outclassed by Little Nog.
Who is also not in the UFC anymore.
Exactly. I mean, come on. And this is Rashad Evans, an elite fighter. Ridiculous.
He lost to Ryan Bader and Phil Davis. He beat Tito Ortiz. Congratulations again, I guess. And the Rashad Evans fight just seems so, I don't know.
Nobody that he has beaten in the UFC is still employed by them.
Rashad is going
to... Yeah, he gets to fight Rashad Evans. Okay, yeah, go for it. Makes sense to me.
Rashad's going to kill him. That's it. It's a massacre.
I agree. It's just such a strange move by the UFC. And now, is this indicative of the increased schedule, the number of injuries? Is this just a matchup that was kind of forced due to who's already scheduled, who's injured, and who just recently fought?
Who's Machida fighting?
Machida is fighting
probably Henderson.
Henderson, yeah. Supposedly, I don't think.
Who's Shogun fighting?
Gustafson and Fox.
Yeah.
Oh, so then we're really, and then you have Glover and Rampage, Forrest and Phil. I guess you're running out of people.
Yeah, I would have thought they would have done Forrest versus Little Nog before they would have done Forrest and Phil.
Because they were supposed to fight at one point, weren't they? And then
Little Nog actually tweeted that. He was like, "Hey, Dan, I'm back and I'm healthy. Let's do this Forrest fight." And everyone wants to fight.
No, but I think they want Phil to have a win over a name like Forrest.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. I think it's a bad matchup for Forrest, but it makes sense for Phil Davis, especially after the performance he gave at UFC 153. I don't know. And then
I would have rather seen Phil fight Ryan Bader and Little Nog fight Forrest.
Right.
Ryan Bader, fuck that.
He's coming off a loss, but it was a loss to Machida. I think a win over Ryan Bader says a lot more than a win over Forrest Griffin.
Oh Lord, I disagree even now.
Ryan Bader, talk
Ryan
about
Bader. Oh my God.
Overrated MMA fighter. He's not.
I think Ryan Bader smashes Forrest Griffin.
Yeah, but Forrest Griffin's still a better name, and he may not. I mean, Forrest just is unmotivated at this point, so everyone may smash him.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a more of a compliment to Ryan Bader or just a reality check.
Speaks more to Forrest Griffin, where Forrest Griffin is today.
I don't know. All right, let's talk about another matchup, and that is Pat Barry.
Bisping Belfort.
Let's not talk about that yet. Has anybody mentioned that as being even announced yet? I know it's kind of like the rumor on the Twitter sphere, but I don't know.
Okay, I guess it hasn't been officially announced, but it looks pretty legit.
I love it if that's true.
Bisping's gonna lose.
All right, well then let's talk about it then. So Bisping versus Belfort is rumored to be made.
Why risk Bisping's title shot with that fight? Belfort's probably gonna knock him out.
I think it'll be a really exciting fight, and you can't deny Bisping the title shot should he beat Belfort. I feel like if he beats Belfort, that's...
Yeah, he gets it, but I think the chances are likely that he's not going to win this fight, and that's going to kill the Bisping title fight at this point. And that could do some business.
It's funny.
Interesting matchmaking.
As much as I have in the past said I disliked Bisping, after meeting him in person and how jovial of a person
Don't you dare compliment this. Don't you dare.
I kind of feel bad for the guy that, he gets so close to getting a title shot. Some guys beat, 3 nobodies and 1/2 of somebody and they get a title shot. Bisping beats...
He's never beaten somebody. That's the problem.
Well, but Bisping's beaten 10 nobodies and 5 half of somebodies. And you would think that would, equal... the 3 nobodies and the 1/2 is nobody. But, this is a real test for Bisping, who has shown improvement. I think he has definitely shown a lot of improvement as a fighter. He doesn't have a whole lot of finishing ability, but his stand-up game looks pretty good. He's able to get up when taken down, although I don't think he really has to worry about that too much against Vitor Belfort. I think Vitor Belfort has to worry about Bisping taking him down. I mean,
This dude's got some good wrestling.
yeah, Bisping's got some decent wrestling for a Brit at least, and
Yeah, for a Brit.
it'll be an interesting fight if it actually comes to fruition. Hopefully, I'm actually hoping it does, because I think it'll be hard for fans to gripe that Bisping got a title shot after beating.
He'd earn it after that.
Yeah, after beating Brian Stan. So I really hope it comes through. And you're right, Bisping's wrestling is going to be a problem for Belfort. We saw it was a problem for him against John Jones.
His gas tank, too. I think
Yeah.
Bisping has a much better gas tank, especially if he takes Belfort down for at least a round.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
I don't like the sound of this.
What?
I'm looking forward to Belfort smashing this guy. Stop bringing up counterpoints.
Again,
one of them will probably get injured beforehand anyway, so the fight's never going to happen. So
shut up. I'm hoping the fight happens. I'm hoping Bisping wins because I want to see him fight Anderson Silva, and I want to see him get smashed by Anderson Silva. If he's going to get smashed, I want to see him get smashed because I don't want him to talk smack about how, he's the guy to beat Anderson Silva, but the UFC never gives him the chance to do that. I want to see him actually face him and then get straight up punked and be like, well, I thought I could, but I didn't. And
Agreed. I want to see it happen. I want to see it happen in Britain. Dave, you and I talked about this before. I'd love to see Bisping Anderson in Britain. Just number one, to get the British fans to shut the fuck up.
They won't shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that would be a good way to actually do a good sell on an overseas card.
Mm-hmm. I feel like they have to do it in the UK if they do Anderson Silva versus Michael Bisping. I mean, you have to do that. I mean, how often have the Brits complained about not getting quality pay-per-view cards?
We'll start having some quality fighters, and you'll get them over there.
I mean, but I think Bisping is enough of a quality fighter that if he gets a title shot, it's justified to have the card in Great Britain. So,
yeah, it'd be great to watch him lose in front of his home audience.
Exactly.
It's fucking awesome. They'll be singing songs before the fight, and then they're gonna get quiet, real quiet.
It'll be
As
like
he gets front kicked to the nasty.
As he gets knocked out, it'll be silence.
Oh,
They are a rowdy bunch of fans.
Those
UK.
Brits. Yeah.
Fight fans. I've seen for Ricky Hatton when he was fighting Mayweather, they were going crazy. And Hatton never really fought anyone before Mayweather, and they were singing all sorts of songs, a Hatton Wonderland to Winter Wonderland, and then Mayweather knocked him out, and that was it. The song stopped. They started sobbing.
I heard he's back.
Yeah, but what's he back doing?
And I heard he's in really good shape too.
Pacquiao knocked him out cold.
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought it was it, did Mayweather actually finish Ricky Hatton?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
Isn't it?
Not as quickly as...
Yeah, I would say Pacquiao knocked him out in the second or third round, right?
Yeah. Mayweather Hatton went to like the 8th round or something.
Oh, snap. Loretta Hunt just
called in.
She said
emailed.
She said she would. She just tweeted me to say she can call in now.
Awesome. Look at that.
Look at Erica getting somebody of name.
Did you just say getting it in?
Getting it in.
Jesus.
That's what she said.
And that's our first "That's What She Said" joke on the show. I guess we have to keep them to a minimum while she's on here, though, right?
Oh, I think Loretta would understand.
Should I just not talk?
Dana White, please.
Yeah, should I just not talk then?
Oh, that would be funny. Oh, really? That's exciting. So we're just waiting for her to call in. Well, while we're waiting for her to buzz us, another matchup that was made: Pat Barry versus Shane Del Rosario. Another exciting fight that we'll probably see Pat Barry lose. I think Shane is just I just don't think Pat Barry is a very promising MMA fighter. I don't know.
He's a promising kickboxer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't even know
He
about
has
that.
exciting fights. So
I think we have Loretta Hunt on. Is this Loretta Hunt?
This is she. Hi.
Awesome. How are you
hey,
doing?
thanks for
Good.
calling
Hi.
in.
Who am I talking to?
I'm Erica. You're on the FanAddicts MMA show, and I've got my other hosts with me, David Wolf and Justin
Hey,
Cohey.
Hey,
How's it
guys.
going?
Well, pleased to meet you.
So happy you called in. That was. Do you often just call numbers that you get on Twitter?
I try and do I try and do as many radio requests as I can because I think it's good for you guys, to get people on the air, because I know some of the fighters are harder to get
Who
when you
you
first start
telling?
out. So I think if someone wants to talk to me, I should do my best to try and do it.
That is awesome. You
It
are
really is.
awesome. You're pretty cool. Yeah.
It's such a rare type of person, actually, these days.
Yeah. Yeah. MMA
I just think it's part of my job, like it's good to help people that are behind you, like I want MMA to grow, and part of that is having the journalism and the radio shows and everything, the things that keep people entertained, and so yeah, it's no problem.
Thank you again. Well, I wanted to have you on here to talk about the article that you just wrote that is on sportsillustrated.com.
Right.
And, we've talked about it quite a bit on our show, but we have remarkably less credentials than you. So I think having it come from you, there's people probably sitting up and listening to it a little bit more. So the article talks about the UFC and Fox deal. And again, we've talked about how the deal just doesn't seem to really be doing everything that it promised. And for anybody who hasn't actually read the article, can you just talk with us a little bit about what the article is about and what your point of view is?
Yeah, a couple months ago, I knew we were heading in on 1 year of the UFC Fox deal, their broadcast deal. So I started talking to my editor. We were keeping an eye on the numbers, and we're starting to see some patterns. Mostly a lot of the ratings were falling in almost every area, but Fuel TV.
Yeah.
I just like part of my job is to kind of always have a feeling of what this sport is always going through. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I have to have a good feeling of what the sport's feeling. And I know there's a growing feeling of people that are just too overwhelmed with all this content that's been put on TV, or they feel it's not as good as what they used to watch, or it's losing a bit of its novelty. So that my article brought up a lot of what I've been hearing from people, as the UFC expands, their content starts to thin, and, people are reacting to that, but you always go back to the numbers, and the numbers are going down. So something is happening right now. And I think a little bit of that novelty feeling that UFC had just a couple of years ago, and everybody really wanted to get on it, I think that's starting. So, this article is, pretty much just breaking down each channel and kind of talking a bit about what's happened in that first year there. And then I was lucky enough to get the Fox executive who handles all the numbers. He's the marketing and research guy who handles all the sports properties. So now he has 1 year of information in front of him to tell him how did the UFC really do on Fox. So I was lucky enough to get on the phone with him. That took me a couple weeks to get to him, but I got to him, and he, I just felt like he offered some insight too. Like none of us are TV experts, but this guy is.
Right.
So I thought it would be good to hear from him how he thinks the deal is going and where he could see improvement and all that. And Mike Mulvihill, he was really, I thought, pretty straightforward about what he thought. A lot of times executives will try and paint a really pretty picture of how things are going, but I thought he was a little more, just fair and down the line, and this is what we got and this is what we could do better.
Do you think the decline in the Ultimate Fighter numbers are also all tied in with this, or do you think that is a separate issue dealing more with the actual program itself rather than the interest level in MMA and the UFC?
Yeah, I think the Ultimate Fighter, because I think the Ultimate Fighter is probably the product that people know the most, at least by brand name.
Right.
So the Ultimate Fighter is, when they hear that the Ultimate Fighter is kind of crashing, they start to think the whole thing is crashing. And in reality, I don't think, and crashing, I'm being dramatic, we're not seeing a crash, we're seeing a decline,
Yeah.
so, and I also talk about in the article too, how things can be turned around, and how Fox is taking a patient approach. They're not going to panic after the first year. I think after the second year, they'll start to panic. But
Yeah.
the first year, I think, they're kind of taking note of everything. So, personally, I kind of, when I do think of the Ultimate Fighter, I'm like the fan. I think Ultimate Fighter, I think UFC, you know what I mean? So that brand is so strong on its own that, I don't think the headlines that say, tough is tanking, all that are helping the UFC brand overall. No way.
Right.
What do you think of the John Jones Chael season and the switch to a different day
yeah,
besides Friday?
I think the fans are pretty right on about what, the fans aren't stupid. They've come out and they've spoken and voiced their discontent that this is a fight that really, it really puts into question the credibility of not only the UFC, but MMA as a sport. And I feel like this year, our first year on Fox, the sport itself has been a little vulnerable, right? It really was entering a new market with new people and new eyes watching it for the first time, So this was kind of a really delicate year, and I don't think the UFC was at its best to handle this really delicate year,
Right.
I think the fans have assessed it correctly. It's the wrong fight for a bunch of reasons. It was the wrong thing for Zuffa to do. Everyone knows that. And not only is it going to hurt them, it's going to hurt probably the whole sport overall right now.
Right. So the rumor mill has it that it's moving. They announced it is definitely moving, and the rumor mill says Tuesday nights on FX. Do you think that the numbers will increase for the Ultimate Fighter in an extremely significant way? I guess what they expected them to be originally, or do you think the show itself needs to be kind of rethought and maybe revamped a little bit?
I think the show's done. I thought it was done after the 15th season when they tried the new thing and it didn't work.
Yeah.
The live. That's when I realized, oh God, people are just sick of seeing this, because even this new dramatic change didn't really. It took away the best part of the show, I guess, for some people. So it definitely wasn't. I give Fox and UFC props for trying to resuscitate, this thing. With the 15th season, but I thought it was done after that season, and then what was the other part of the question? I'm sorry.
Do you think I was asking if the show needs to be revamped on Tuesdays?
Revamped, and
yeah.
I jumped to that, and then what was the first part of your question?
Jeez.
Whether you think the ratings will be high?
Yes. Do you think that they'll?
Yeah.
Rebound?
I could see the ratings definitely. New night, I'm sure they're going to promote the heck out of it because I think they came out really strong a couple weeks ago out of the gate, like we're doing this, So
Yeah.
I assume FX is really going to get their muscle behind it and promote it. I could see it doing well, possibly the entire season, but then maybe that's it. It should be done after that. It's not the way I would love to end the Ultimate Fighter,
Right.
We're going from Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell to John Jones and Chael Sonnen, it's just not the same thing. But, I hope they kind of start to put their energies maybe into something else. They can do another TV show,
Yeah.
I'd love for them to kind of put their effort into something else. I'd like to see something new.
Did you watch
and
Fight
I think
Factory?
everyone else does too.
I was just about to ask that.
Did you watch Fight Factory?
No, I didn't get to see that. I didn't have it out here.
It was
I
really
heard it was
good.
very good.
Yeah, it was excellent, and I think that could be something that a format that UFC could use to its advantage. Send people out to AKA Jackson's preparing for certain fights and have a season like that. I mean, this was a real show. It was very much.
Yeah, I heard
real.
It was pretty dramatic and realistic. Yes.
Yes. There was very little that had to be exaggerated.
Yeah, that's
you know,
a pretty
there's
dynamic. That's a pretty dynamic team. It really is. To me, that's one of the more diverse fight teams out there. You know, with all the guys, because they're not all similar. You know, like the Milicic guys were all similar. You know,
Right.
So I can see all the stories and issues and all that, and the characters that they could use for that one.
You know, and I'm a huge TV person. I love television. It's probably
Oh my God, so do I.
my
I
third.
love.
It's probably my third or
love
fourth
TV.
best friend. It really is. I love TV. My DVR probably hates me right now, but
one of my friends writes for Yahoo. He writes TV shows, and I always try and catch his articles, but I'm secretly jealous.
Wouldn't that be awesome? David here is quite the he's more of a movie buff, but he's quite the writer himself when it comes to stuff like that. Look at me, David, giving you a compliment on air.
Oh,
it won't happen often. So
I know.
Loretta, you talked about NASCAR specifically having that lightning rod moment when they had the crash with Dale Earnhardt in the last lap of the Daytona 500, and even alluded to the UFC having their own sort of lightning rod moment with Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonnar, but it being on Spike. Now, I guess they were kind of hoping to have a similar situation with the first Fox card, but unfortunately the fight was done in a minute, and like you said, wasn't really a showcase of all the skills that you need to have in MMA. Since then, you've had some pretty fantastic fights with, Jim Miller and Nate Diaz, Alan Belcher and Husimir Palhares had a nice little grappling battle for a round, and then Shogun and Vera. And, I mean, that entire fight card was pretty amazing, but we didn't see any sort of change in the ratings. What sort of, I guess, quote-unquote lightning rod moment does the UFC need to have at this point on Fox to get them the ratings back?
Hopefully not a death, because I think that would be
not a death. No, I didn't.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, and when I was writing about the NASCAR thing, first of all, I've heard this term lightning rod for a long time. It would be thrown out like when I would be in the presence of TV execs, and when it came around to doing this piece, I just read Malcolm Gladwell's book not too long ago, The Tipping Point, and. So I think that had a little influence too. But the whole thing about this fight was not sticky. People just kind of couldn't put their minds around it. They either dismissed it and said, "Oh, this is nothing. This is kickboxing," or they, or they said, "I don't know what the heck that is at all." That's not any good.
Right.
That this fight wasn't sticky, and I don't know. I just kind of like that whole concept. It really makes a lot of sense. And when I went back to the TV executives and started talking to them about it, a couple of them actually brought up NASCAR to me in a conversation comparing NASCAR and UFC, two totally different sports, different audiences, and all that. But in essence, they both have this
similar struggle.
Something about them where people think it's really hot. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden it becomes really in. It becomes very cool. NASCAR was got on TV and God forbid Dale Earnhardt died, but no one would deny to me that his death did not kind of just get the ratings going. You know what I mean? Like I even remember when Dale Earnhardt died. I didn't tune into a NASCAR race, but I kind of saw NASCAR getting a lot of attention. I'm like, okay, I guess this is something legit, So the UFC unfortunately didn't have that moment. I think what they need now is the right combination to come up again. They need something that gets the audience to come in. Like we'll use November as an example. Yes.
Right.
November is Nate Diaz versus Ben Henderson. Great fight. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. People that know the sport are going to tune in to watch that fight because they know it's going to be a good one. So they'll get the hardcores in there, but then they have to have something like some kind of press or something. A fighter says one thing to another. I don't know, some kind of hype that will get the general audience back in again to give it another try. Because that group of people, they left the room after the first show. So we got to get those people back in. Mm-hmm. And then if we get those people locked back in, the fight has to deliver. With Ben Henderson, I'm really not worried. That's why they put him in that slot. that guy manages to do pretty much everything in a fight, and he is all over the place, really, really well-rounded and kind of spectacular in some areas. So, I mean, I think it's a great fight to pick, and I guess the last thing would be luck, because you can never, even Ben Henderson can get knocked out, even Nate Diaz can fall and twist his ankle or something and the fight stops up, so, or, even the referee can stop that fight early and everyone starts to focus on that. So, I mean, I guess those are the three things we need. We need that big audience back in somehow, and that needs to be done now. We need the fight to be good, and all across sports. Something that people kind of talk about. Wow, did you see that? That was crazy what he did. We need that type of talk. And then, we need the luck for, just to have that fight happen that way. You know what I mean?
But do you think that the fact that it's I like what I liked about the idea of the first fight that they did with Junior Dos Santos and Cain Velasquez was not only was it a title fight with, guys who were kind of on the rise but maybe didn't have the biggest fan base thus far, but it was a heavyweight title fight. And
Mm-hmm.
I
that
wrote
was our hook, right? For the general
Yeah, exactly.
audience.
So, I mean, but
that got the new eyes.
Okay, but how is a lightweight title fight going to do the same thing, do you think?
Well, that's a really good question. No, I don't think a lightweight fight's going to do something as a heavyweight fight. Also, this is their second time. They've lost people, and they're trying to get them back.
True.
So it's a little bit different than the first time. Like, in essence, they should be trying harder this second time, and it is going to be harder to get more people to tune in for a lightweight fight. You're absolutely right. But, yeah, I guess, something needs to happen. I don't know if it's a bump up in advertising, and maybe that's on the way. I mean, they really got to promote to get people to come in to see Ben Henderson. So,
I was hoping that with it being football season that, that would help. That, they would do kind
in the article, in the article we did talk about, Mike Mulvihill talked about the seasons. I called them the seasons because that's what they sounded like to me, of where people tune in and don't tune in. We've got the obvious in the summer. People don't really tune in unless it's the Olympics. And then in the fall, everyone kind of tunes in again. Not so much in the winter, but it's still a high usage time, and then we go back into the summer. So if you do look at the UFC numbers, it started in November, a very high usage time, and then it drifted as they went into low usage time into the summer, and then they got killed going against the Olympics. And now they're coming back into November. So kind of the end of the piece is, from what Mulvihill's told me, from, what I'm feeling right now, I'm like, geez, this next fight on Fox is going to be really, really important because that's when they're going to start to see, is this thing really trending down in a high usage time, or is it going to start to level out, or maybe they have a lightning round open and it takes off, So, that was, I don't know, I just thought that was all kind of interesting stuff, And I kind of knew, after 1 year, everyone was going to be starting to look at the Fox relationship as a whole. So, I just thought it would be something really good to kind of jump on.
We won't take up too much more of your time, but I wanted to ask you about the promotion that Fox has put behind the UFC, or rather the lack thereof. You mentioned that they, with this Bendo Diaz card coming up, that I'd like to see some sort of promotion. It's football season, which means there are millions and millions of people watching Fox every weekend. And I haven't seen one advertisement for the UFC or this particular card. So
no, neither have I. I think we're probably still like a couple weeks out. I think they like to do it closer. I think we're still just a little too far out right now. But maybe in another week or two, I mean, we definitely should start seeing those ads. They were doing those pop-up little things on the bottom for the first couple shows, so I anticipate they'll do that again. I mean, are a lot of people starting to write about the next Fox show? Not really. So, I mean, hopefully they'll pick that up on their end. I mean, their PR people will jump more on that. It was just kind of what I had pieced together from what, the Fox executive, Mike Mulvihill had said. And, I was just trying to like it would be easy for me to throw out a thing and say, hey, the ratings are not good. The ratings are going down. But I also wanted to take it a step further and be like, okay, so what does that mean for the future? what are they doing to try and fix it? Do they really think these ratings are really bad? You know, are we all overreacting? You know, should we pull the panic button? You know,
Yeah.
So, you know, that was kind of like, I just kind of wanted to get people to think about it. I also think, like, people were kind of, there's a hesitancy among MMA community, you know, to be like, hey, something's wrong, you know, people aren't really tuning in. What's going on here, you know, with the number one brand, you know, in the world. So, yeah, I think that was another reason that I wanted to take it a step further with a little more analysis behind it.
Well, we really appreciate you being on the show, and I think your article is excellent as usual. You always do really great articles on MMA. You do MMA justice, and as another female that's trying to get into this MMA world, I'd like to thank you for being kind of being out there and taking a lot of guff for being a chick in MMA, because we talked about that too. That, you know, some of the things that you get guff for, a man would not get the same amount of guff, but because we have boobs, suddenly we don't know what we're talking about. But you know.
I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you. Yeah, no, great. I'm glad I could come on, and I appreciate that you guys felt the article was, you know, interesting enough to bring onto your show and talk about. That's great. I think that's kind of what I wanted to start to do. I wanted people to have. I was hoping people would have a reaction to it, either, you know, telling me that I'm a hater and crazy. And I've only gotten one tweet today that called me a hater.
Oh,
the rest have all been positive, so
good.
That's good.
Wow.
You know, but I just wanted people to talk about it, you know. I think people are kind of like, everyone's kind of suspecting it, looking at one another, like, hey, something's not quite right here right now. But I think people are kind of afraid to say it out loud.
Yes.
And, you know, and you know, and I'm not saying the UFC is about to die or it'll get dropped by Fox in a year. You know, I'm just saying, you know, I always take this stance that if we're willing to look at what's wrong, there's a chance that it can change in some way.
Yes.
You know, going into the next year. And so I think I just wanted to kind of boost awareness and keep it real.
And before you go, our buddy Terrence from Southeast wanted me to let you know that he absolutely loves your work. So I imagine Terrence will be tweeting you
it's
shortly.
Really, really kind of you guys. Thank you.
Not a problem. Well, thank you again, Loretta, and we look forward to reading more articles from you about the UFC. And again, we appreciate all that you do for the sport.
Oh, no problem. Thank you guys so much for doing your show, too.
Oh, not a problem. You need to listen to the rest of it before you say that. So, really,
all right. Talk to you guys soon.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, Loretta.
Okay. Bye.
That was awesome. Is anybody else like, we're awesome?
Yeah, that was great.
That was great. Look at that. Loretta's awesome. I want a Loretta's awesome t-shirt. Team Loretta. Okay, we still have quite a bit of stuff to talk about. I'm glad we talked about we got a chance to talk about Loretta's article. And if you haven't had a chance to read it, it's on sportsillustrated.cnn.com. Again, the title of the article is What's Wrong with the UFC? How Fox Deal Spawned a Diluted Product. Let's talk about some more matchups that we have here, because I think we have another matchup to talk about. What else do we have? Aldo Edgar is apparently back on in January, or supposedly.
Yeah, they're talking about going back to Brazil, I believe, January 19th, which I'm all for them doing Aldo and Edgar in Brazil, because number one, I think that brings in a lot of love for Aldo as far as taking him back to Brazil, and I think it gets Edgar some extra viewers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the Brazilians absolutely love MMA. You know, 95 bazillion of them will watch the event there, whereas 200,000 in the U.S. will, but or at least legally, anyway. Hey, David? Hey, David? Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
What are you talking about, Erica?
I don't know. So we do
I don't
have
steal events.
No, you don't. You never do. That would be so unlike you. That would be so unlike you.
Immoral. Come on, they're asking a reasonable price for these pay-per-views, $55.
You know, it's funny, this looking at the GSP content card, man, did they phone that card in or what? That card
They didn't phone it in. They just fucked it up as to who's on the main card and who's on the prelims.
It's just not a good card. I don't.
Like,
I don't
why
even,
is Mark Hominick on the main card? Please tell me why Mark Hominick.
I don't understand. I don't understand that at all. Apparently, Mark Hominick is never going to get released by the UFC, even though I think at this point he's shown that he's not the fighter that they were hoping he would be and that he was hyped to be.
Hold on, I'm going to bring up the card and then I'm going to scream about who's on this.
Don't literally scream.
Okay.
No, I think he should. I think he should pull a Matthew Roth. Just be angry for like a good 20 minutes about it.
Okay, I feel better about the fact that at least a couple of these fights are on like the FX portion show. It's still going to, be on TV, kind of. Mm-hmm. But Mark Bocek versus Rafael Dos Anjos is on the FX prelims, while Cyril Debate versus Chad Griggs is on the main card.
Oh, wow.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, and then Darren Elkins and Steven Seiler are the first prelim on the Facebook card, and Mark Hominick and Pablo Garza are on the main card.
Yeah, I was really not happy with that either. Now I understand both Seiler and Elkins are Americans, and the main card has an American versus a foreigner. But I did just say foreigner, like an old black person, like them foreigners. Yeah. Steven Seiler has had some really impressive performances in the UFC, and I think he deserves to be a lot higher than the first fight on Facebook. I mean, I don't know, just not good placement of fights. I agree with you.
I mean, even Tom Lawler versus Francis Carmont. I mean, that's questionable at best on being on the main card.
Oh, the French Cookie Monster, Francis Carmont. What else is on the Nick Ring and Costa Filippo? Did you mention that one? I mean, Nick Ring, say what you will of him, but he's a little bit of a Canadian hero after his his John Jones performance during a robbery or a stick up or something where he stopped
on like a bus, wasn't it?
I don't know what it was. It was something where he like broke it up. He was a superhero for a hot 2 seconds. Why not, put him on the main card before Cyril Diabate and Chad Griggs? Really? I don't know. I just think it's kind of it could have been reformatted to make it look a lot better than what it was and make it worth $55. Because I think a lot of people are going to be getting that card illegally. Well, nobody that we know, of course, because that. Well,
I know there's a green.
Never.
Well, Erica, I know there's a green turtle out your way, and they just put one in Fairfax, and they don't charge a cover for you to go and watch the fights there.
No, you
don't.
So
I'm like, hell yeah, I'll just go there. Whatever money I would have spent on the pay-per-view will get put towards food and beer.
Yeah, and the only issue, of course, with a lot of these places, especially the ones that don't charge a cover, you had to show up early. Well, at least the one out here we do. I got to be there if the card starts at 10. I got to be there at like 6 or 7.
Yeah, which I mean, if you drink as much as I do, that's not a problem.
I want to still be awake for the card. That's just what
My only problem is, and I got yelled at this today. I was like, I haven't ordered, or I haven't seen the past couple of pay-per-views because they don't want to order them. They were like, well, why don't you just go to a bar and watch it? I was like, well, I hate going to bars because there's all like the bro MMA fans who are like, oh, that shit's weak, man. Stand up. Why aren't you throwing head kicks? And, this ground stuff, this is gay. And I'm just like, dude, like, why are you even bothering to be here if this is not an enjoyable thing for you to watch?
Yeah, I don't know. The dude bra man, as we will call them, the dude bra man. Dude bra man. They tend to make it a little difficult to watch the fights in bars. But, I've met some good people there, and I know a lot of people from the school I used to train with. They go up there to watch fights, and they're pretty funny when they get drunk and people start insinuating that the jiu-jitsu portion of it is gay. Nothing like a 200-something pound man in your face because you call jiu-jitsu gay. It's always fun. We got another matchup, Coke and Ricardo Lamas. How do you feel about that fight, guys?
Awesome.
Awesome sauce?
Awesome. Great fight. No, I thought I wasn't 100% happy with Cook getting the title shot originally.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the dude's kind of, injured so often. It would be nice to actually see him beat a contender to get that shot. And I think Lamas is that contender, especially with Zombie out with a shoulder injury, I believe.
And and the injuries. I mean, we could have had an injury show by itself. The injuries continue to plague the UFC. I don't know what they need to do, man. They need to come up with bionic fighters or something. I don't know.
Well, you saw where they're now doing that. It's essentially because of Jose Aldo and his motorcycle accident. They can't tell them what to do or what not to do when they're not in camp or when they're not set up for a fight. But as soon as they sign a bout agreement, they're barred from doing certain what's quote unquote dangerous activities, which of course Donald Cerrone's all pissed about.
So, well, I don't know if they can. Can they not? I thought that's with how the NFL worked, that they, the guys are not allowed to do stuff at all, or is that only during training camp and during the season that they're not allowed to do that?
Yeah, I think it's during the season and whatnot. I'm sure there are some contracts out there that take it a little further. But in all honesty, if you've got a fight 2 or 3 weeks away, do you really need to be whipping around on a motorcycle?
No, you do not. You do not need to be whipping it around on a motorcycle. I agree with you.
That sounded dirty.
That did sound dirty. I was hoping it would sound dirty. Rampage. Let's talk about Rampage real quick. So for a guy who hasn't had really an exciting fight since he knocked out Wanderlei Silva, to be honest with you, I can't think of an exciting fight that he's had since then. He seems to be awfully picky and choosy about who he's going to fight because he thinks they're boring, and the implication that Joe Silva, quote unquote, can't match shoes. Is Rampage on crack? That's the question. I think that's the first question because crack is whack.
He's on energy drinks.
Is that what it is? Lots of energy
Isn't that what
drinks.
it was?
Yes.
Isn't that when he went on that rampage?
Yeah.
Dehydration. And I guess he was depressed that he lost to Forrest Griffin.
Of course.
I mean,
Well, that was crazy to me. I mean, they put Rampage in a situation, and David, I don't know if you saw this or not, but the Ultimate Fighter 17 was originally offered to Chael Sonnen and Rampage Jackson.
Yeah, I read that today.
And then Rampage turns it down because he thinks Chael Sonnen is a boring fighter. Meanwhile, Chael Sonnen's, selling all sort, despite my hate for his shtick, is getting a lot of attention and, on his own is actually, selling quite a few pay-per-views and would have made a hell of a lot more sense for Chael Sonnen's first fight at 205.
It makes no business sense to turn it down.
Right.
Unless he feels that Chael's wrestling will shut him down.
Yeah, which is exactly why he turned it down.
I don't know. Rampage seems to think that this is still 1996 and he's a much bigger, better fighter than what he is. And honestly, he's, a one-dimensional fighter who rarely ever uses his wrestling anymore, relies on this howling shtick that gets on my nerves 20 times worse than Chael Sonnen's shtick. And he shouldn't have been turning down fights. And he should be blamed for the Ultimate Fight. Well, he should be blamed for Chael Sonnen getting a title shot a lot faster than he really should be. He should have taken the maybe Rampage just didn't want to be on the Ultimate Fighter. He's already been on it twice, which I think both seasons that he was on did really decent numbers.
Then he did killer numbers in the pay-per-view fight with Rashad.
Yeah, so that made sense for the UFC to do, and now hearing that, it makes a lot more sense as to why we ended up with what we ended up with, and it's a shame. It really is. It's an absolute shame that Rampage is that deluded of a fighter that he thinks that he's too good.
And of course, he's another guy who wants to fight Forrest Griffin. So.
Oh, jeez.
Why the hell?
I don't understand.
He literally said that everyone wants to see that fight.
I don't know who everyone is. Is everyone actually a person? Is that like a person's name? Is that like the L dash?
Everyone
A?
Smith. He told me.
Yeah.
That he wants to see this fight.
Yeah, because that's the only way that everyone makes sense.
Everyone.
that everyone is a person that he knows. Because I wouldn't put it past some people. You know, they name their child everyone.
I like that's the thing. Like every time I get disappointed when I see Forrest Griffin on a card. I get disappointed when I see Rampage on a card. Like I'm like the Anderson Chael. I was so excited for that pay-per-view, and then Forrest Griffin came on my TV, and I was like, oh, I gotta sit through this to get to the main event. I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah, you know, remember, was there ever a time where you were really genuinely excited about Forrest being on a card?
Yeah, or Shogun.
Say that again?
Forrest Shogun, where Forrest upset Shogun. I was super excited for that fight.
Yeah,
that
no,
upset.
yeah. I can see
I
that.
thought that was a great moment. Great fight too.
No, I mean, when as someone who was like essentially a child of the first season of the Ultimate Fighter, you know, I liked Forrest Griffin for a long time, and then I think it was right around time he lost to Keith Jardine and he sat in the cage crying, like sobbing, and I was like, this guy is kind of strange. And then, you know, then he had the win over Shogun, which was awesome. He beat Rampage, which was a great fight as well. But it was like I think it was after he lost the title to Rashad, where he said, you know, where he had like no emotion, no nothing, where it was like one of those things. He was more upset about losing that fight to Keith Jardine than he was losing the title to Rashad. And I think he later did an interview saying that, you know, he was kind of happy to lose the title because he didn't like the spotlight and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, then why the hell are you competing if you don't want to, you know, if you don't want to be the best at something? And that really soured me towards him. And so I've enjoyed watching him get the shit kicked out of him ever since.
Wow.
Like I was pretty excited when he was when I was in Philly and saw him fight Anderson Silva, and I actually thought he was going to do fairly well. And then he didn't.
And then you were wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Forrest is such a
dick.
Oh, wow. I mean, I guess.
And here we have Forrest Griffin calling in.
Good. You're a fucking asshole. How about that?
Oh, wow. That is just a little too much. We don't need Forrest Griffin on here throwing bad jokes our way.
He's got good jokes, actually.
Yeah, maybe he'll call for a ban of FightFans Radio, like Stephan Bonner called for a ban of Bleacher Report.
Oh, wow. Well, you know, Matthew Roth works for Bleacher Report, and I think he does, and he continues to do really well for the.
My computer freezes anytime I try to go there. So
oh, is that a sign?
10 seconds. It's a sign. Yeah, I take it as a sign.
Oh, wow, that is a little scary.
There's like a pop-up.
And then your computer's like,
maybe it's
why
just
are
my
you
computer.
doing this?
It unfreezes, but
your computer knows
it's not a pleasant experience when I visit Bleacher Report.
Your computer knows something. It's trying to tell you something. You know, I don't mind Bleacher Report. I don't like the articles that are like top 10 reasons you should buy a UFC pay-per-view, and it's a slideshow, and that's all. You know, that's a way of them increasing their click-throughs and whatnot on the show, on the website by having those slideshows. But, you know, people like Jonathan Snowden and Matthew Roth put some really quality articles on there where they were lacking before. So I don't think Bleacher Report is as bad as it used to be.
Jeremy Botter, too.
Jeremy Botter, yeah, absolutely. So
yeah, there's good stuff there. It's just difficult to get there.
You got to get through the crap before you can get to the good stuff. I mean, but that's life, isn't it? No?
I'm not willing to tolerate it on the internet.
That's dating. That's what dating is, Erica.
Oh, I feel you, bro. I feel you. I really do. Because dating is not easy. Although,
well, you just don't want to have to move.
That's true. I hate moving, so, you know.
And you'd have to move it like every 2 weeks, apparently.
Yeah, I absolutely would have to. And adopt a cat every time. And by the time you're done, you got like 15 cats, and you got to figure out who gets what. And it's just a really big, ugly mess. We have a call. I think this is Terrence. You're on FanAddicts. Is this Terrence?
Yeah, man, I don't know how I can follow in Loretta Hunt, but y'all seem like y'all dying right now, so I figured I'd call in.
Yeah, Loretta was awesome, man. She's a really cool chick, and it was a joy to have her on here. We were talking.
Yeah, what I like about her, I mean, she don't, you know what I'm saying, she say what she mean, and she don't try to be company lies like all the other guys. They try to watch what they say, you know, because she done had her run-ins with Dana, so, you know, she just speak her mind, you know, and she says what she says, and she means it, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, that's why I like her, you know, unlike a lot of other people that, you know, they looking for a UFC job, so, you know, as you've been, you know, if you've been, you know, noticing over the last couple of weeks, everything they do, oh, yeah, well, I see why they did that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Hey, there's no reason to insult me, Terrence. The hell?
I'm just saying,
I know it's a
man.
desperate tactic, but what the fuck, man?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, you know, like guys, you know, yeah, well, they passed some credentials out, so I guess they're having an event, you know, but a guy like me already know they're not having an event, but you got Ariel Hawaii, well, they sending out credentials, so I guess they're having their event still, you know, November 3rd. Okay, man. You know, so, that's basically my call, you know, is that, you know, you see a lot of these media guys, man, and they like last night on MMA Uncensored, you know, everybody agreed everything with Dana saying do, and Randy Couture with the, you know, giving Chael the fight. Oh, yeah, I see why they did it, you know, it's business, it's for ratings, it's for numbers. So now, you know, we fight for ratings and numbers and not, you know, who's the best fighter. You know, so that, you know, you start to see that
Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock did that a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, it just seems like now, man, you know, if you look at the last 2-3 weeks that they've been giving out title shots, it's been to a guy that's been suspended and a guy that's 0-2 in title matches. It doesn't look great.
Terrence, how concerned are you about Hurricane Sandy washing away Georgetown?
Oh, man, I would be crushed because a lot of boutiques, especially Chick on Wisconsin Avenue, all chopped down, very disappointed. Chick and Princess washed away. And just opened a Nike shop, so I will be kind of.
Oh my God, Terrence! I know Hurricane Sandy, man. This, if you're not aware, if you're not, you know, on the East Coast, or if you haven't been watching the TV at all in the last 24 hours, we have this huge storm that's supposed to be coming up and meeting with a winter storm, and then it's supposed to turn into like this mega storm called Hurricane Sandy, and everybody's freaking out. I'm thinking about just going to Giant right now and just grabbing every bottle of water on the shelf just to try and freak people out. Maybe just a bunch of toilet paper and water, and you know, it's ridiculous how people are reacting.
Nothing probably happened. You know, everybody's panicked. People buying generators, candles, and everything. But me, you know, I'm just going to hunker in and, you know, I'm just going to live off the land. That's all.
Live off the land in Southeast.
I got my guns.
Oh my God, that would be. Oh, if you've never been to Southeast DC, that would be a real. That's a skill right there. Like.
Hey, well, our bodega's got just about everything you need. And candles, lights, you know, flashlights, you know, emergency lights, you know, fake generators. I mean, we got everything. Lawn generators, I mean, whatever you need. You know, just it's a one-stop shop. You know, food, groceries, everything, all in our bodega.
Terrence. Oh my God. Oh wow. I mean, you know, Maryland. Most of the time when they're like hurricane are coming, and then. You know, by the time it comes, it's just like a gust of wind and a little bit of rain. So I think we'll all be okay.
Well, it was funny because we don't where I work. Sometimes we follow what like the federal government does, and sometimes we just follow what Fairfax County Courthouse does. And my boss was out of work today, so I sent him, and the office manager was out of the office too. So I sent them both a text message, just being like, "Hey, you know, since you guys aren't here, just want to be kind of clear as to what the protocol is for this hurricane lake, you know, which one are we following?" And they were like, "We'll talk about it on Monday." And I'm like, wasn't the storm possibly hitting here Sunday?
They're just writing it out. They want to see if the shit hits the fan.
Like, if I don't have power and I can't, like, take a shower or something, I can't go to work.
No, and I don't think you should have to. I'll write you a note if you need one.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, Justin Cohee does not have to go to work because I said so. Hugs and kisses, Erica.
XOXO.
They're gonna be like, who is this bitch telling us that Cohee doesn't have to come to work?
Man, I'll have to get you to write me those notes more often.
Hey, I'm saying I can get like a whole pad of paper and just write a whole bunch of them. You just use them whenever you need to.
Cool.
All right, Terrence. Thank you very much, man, for calling it. Oh, well, what do you think of this news about Rampage being offered 2 fights and him turning them both down because he thought the fighters were too boring?
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with that. I mean, you know, if you look at a lot of things, and you got to make creative fights. You got to make fights for the fighting, and you know that's something that over the last couple of shows. I mean, we just haven't been getting those great fights. So whatever that can be done to make better fights, I agree with that.
We were saying Rampage hasn't had an exciting fight himself in quite a while. So should he really be passing judgment on who does exciting fights? Or, with his contract coming to a close, I think he only has 1 fight left.
Right.
I don't know. Do you think Rampage will be vying for a new contract?
The thing with Rampage is he does a lot of the stuff that he's saying because he's semi-bashing the UFC. And, he just found out that Glover wasn't going to fight, so now he wants to force fight. He kind of threw Phil Davis under the bus, too, by what he said. But, I mean, he's basically looking at what Chael Sonnen has done and saying, well, maybe I need to do the same thing. If running my mouth, throwing guys under the bus, getting in other people's matches gets me a title shot, then maybe I need to do the same thing. Because, I mean, he's starting to backtrack on saying that he's all but gone from Luther. So, maybe he's making a play. If he wins his next fight, he may try to get another deal and may stay because I think he knows that he's not going to get the money that he's getting in the UFC from Bellator.
No.
I mean, he may get something from ONE UFC, but, he's not going to get a big, strong deal like that from anywhere else. So maybe he's, realizing that maybe he needs to, think about taking another fight or 2 in the UFC, and maybe this is his way to, brand himself as a more bad boy trash talker, throwing people under the bus because, as you see, that's what gets you title shots in the UFC.
You're absolutely right. And, say what you will about Chael Sonnen, but he gets it done. He at least gets the shot, and he promotes the hell out of it leading up to it. So what can you do?
And you know what, Eric, I have one thing to ask you.
Yes.
And this goes from Justin, and we had like a Twitter war like a couple of weeks back about how many fighters would be, what you would take from Strikeforce. Justin said like 30. And I was like, you crazy to put in the UFC? How many guys would you take from Strikeforce and put in the UFC?
Oh, wow, that's a tough question. Oh, wow.
I scrolled through that because he and I were going back and forth, and I scrolled through that entire roster on the roster that's on the Strikeforce website, and I counted 30 fighters. And the reason I said 30 was because there are probably, if I went through the UFC's roster right now, there are probably 20 to 25 people that I would just go ahead and get rid of right now, like mostly Ultimate Fighter guys.
Right.
I mean, David Mitchell is fighting for the UFC on the Macau card. Why is David Mitchell still employed by the UFC? It's stuff like that. So, I mean, that was my thing. And plus, I was also including a women's division.
They still have Gina Carano listed as being a Strikeforce fighter, which maybe technically she is, but I don't know. I think, wow, that's a tough one, man. I don't know. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer to this one, but Gilbert Melendez for sure, Nate Marquardt for sure. Luke Rockhold for sure. Jacare for sure. Daniel Cormier for sure.
I would say I even said like Tarek Safadine and Jordan Main. If you're gonna have guys like the Ultimate Fighter castaways and that sort of shit, why wouldn't you have those guys?
What do you think, David? Do you have any input on this? Or how many fighters do you think that if
that is not my child?
That's what you say.
What was that, Erica?
Do you have any input on this? If there were fighters how many fighters would you actually take from Strikeforce and bring to the UFC? I
can't see more than a handful.
But I kind of agree with Kohi that if you're going to keep some guys who didn't even make it past the first round on the Ultimate Fighter, they're the guys that are even mid-level in Strikeforce, which is bottom level in UFC, deserve to be in the UFC more so than those guys. Um, there are certain guys that probably wouldn't take. Maybe Mike Kyle. He puts on exciting fights. Um, I don't know about OSP. I don't know if I would bring him.
Gegard Mousasi.
Gegard Mousasi, yeah.
Jacare,
Chakray. I imagine
Luke
they're there.
Rockhold.
But here's the question: how many guys would just not come? Like Robbie Lawler. I think Robbie Lawler would be like, "F y'all, I'll find someplace else to go."
I don't know. I think Robbie Lawler would come over.
You think he would?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Oh, I mean, we forgot about Woodley,
Woodley,
Feijiao, Josh Thompson, Tim Kennedy, Gilbert. I mean, if you wanted, you could do KJ Noons, Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah. Well, since we're saying this, I think it's a decent segue to Dana White talking about bringing the women's division to the UFC. Since we're talking about bringing fighters over, obviously they would bring. I can't imagine that they would be dumping anybody from the bantamweight women's division in Strikeforce. I think they're all kind of needed, and even though Julie Kedzie doesn't have the best record, she put on a hell of a fight against Miesha Tate. So you can't deny that was an exciting fight, probably one of the best fights of the year. Is Kerry Vera ever going to fight again? I don't know. Cyborg, obviously. Although she's out of her Zuffa contract, isn't she? I thought she was out of her Zuffa contract.
Yeah, I thought she was too.
I thought she was too. She's still listed on the website. Maybe that's just a maintenance error on their part. I can't imagine there are too many people over at Strikeforce headquarters taking care of things like the website.
Liz Carmouche, I think that's a great one to bring over.
Yeah, I like the Liz Carmouche being there. Amanda Nunes, she's a good fighter, good exciting fighter.
Sarah McMahon.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think about them bringing over the Dana White's change of heart? Largely in part due to.
I mean, I think he said it before. This wasn't. I mean, he in the past, like months and years ago, he'd say no women's division, but this wasn't the first time he said Ronda Rousey's going to be the first woman to fight in the UFC, and it's all a matter of when Strikeforce folds.
But I feel like when he said it before, because I do know what you're talking about. I feel like it was more Dana White hyperbole, which is what you kind of discard when he says stuff like that. And then now it seems like it's more of something they're taking seriously, and it's a reality.
I think they'd love to have Ronda Rousey against Cyborg as part of a pay-per-view or as part of a Fox show.
Yeah, I agree. I think part of a Fox show would be amazing.
I would just like to take Ronda out to dinner.
Fox show would be a mistake.
You think a Fox show would be a mistake?
No way.
How can it be a mistake? How can it be a mistake? One of 4 fights? It's not going to be not the main event?
Well, I think when we're talking, my thing with the women, putting them in the UFC, is like putting, women in the NFL to play. I think the UFC needs to be, for men, and they sure they can start assisting women's promotion for having women in the UFC. I think
that's going to work.
The UFC. I think it's cheap as the UFC in a bit. And then on top of that, what if one of these women gets seriously hurt in the octagon? The UFC will be in trouble. Everybody will run away.
They're on
from them.
Strikeforce shows. What if they got seriously hurt on a Strikeforce show? How's that any better?
But that's Strikeforce, though. You're talking about the UFC.
Zuffa owns it.
I just think, man,
I think you're looking at things.
Really hurt.
It's like 100 years ago.
On Fox, they would be in trouble.
I think there would be some. I think the people that would be squeamish about the women fighting and afraid of them getting hurt are the same people who probably aren't watching MMA anyway. I don't know. I don't know. We need to showcase these ladies and show that they actually have talent and even though women's fighting isn't brand spanking new, I feel like we're just now really starting to see solid technique in women's MMA. I think it'd be a shame not to showcase that, in front of a large audience that like they would get on Fox. I don't know. You never know. You know how people is.
You know what?
Oh, I don't know. That's all I have to say is I don't know. I'd pay to see it, or I'd tune in on Fox, but I'm not the the average audience. And I mean, it's Fox. I don't know. I think David might have a little point here. I think you're off base here, Terrence. Terrence from Northwest, lying to us. Where you live. All right, Terrence.
I'm just saying.
All right, Terrence. We're going to be wrapping up the show here in a little bit. Thanks, man, so much for calling in. We always love it when you call in, man.
All right, guys. Talk to y'all next week.
All right.
Eric, I didn't get my cornmeal from you. I'm so sad.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know, I'm so busy with other stuff. All right, Terrence. Talk to you later.
Later.
All right, Terrence.
All right. So real quick, I guess we have just two more things to really discuss, and that would be. Actually, no, one more thing. I mean, we've pretty much covered the women's division thing, and I know a lot of people have talked about that. And I think it's a good idea. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it on a Fox card. I agree with David there. But let's talk about the passing of two iconic members of the combat sports community, and that would be Jeff Blatnick and Emmanuel Stewart. Which one of you guys want to cover this?
I feel like David's probably on both ends probably probably a little better suited to talk, especially about Mr. Stewart.
Yeah, I'm broken up on both of them, but I'm happy to talk about both guys.
Go for it.
Okay, Jeff Blatnick, who's 55 years old. He was a 1984 gold medalist Greco-Roman, which he won after he had defeated cancer. So you had that part of the story. It was just a really great story back in 84. The thing was the Soviet Union boycotted that Olympics, so the best wrestlers in the world were not there, but it's still a gold medal. It's still an amazing, amazing story. He ended up becoming an announcer for the early UFCs, and his background was only in wrestling, but when he saw Hoist beat Dan Severn with the triangle, and when Hoist landed the triangle, none of the announcers knew what was going on. Then Severn taps out. Jim Brown, who was also an announcer, turns to Blatnick and says, "I don't ever want to hear about wrestling again. Don't ever bring up wrestling again." But Blatnick, was just amazed that a guy like Hoist Gracie, who was fairly tall and skinny, could defeat a terrific wrestler like Dan Severn, and he just became enamored with mixed martial arts and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And in fact, he's the guy that popularized the term mixed martial arts when it was called no holds barred fighting. He was a big part of the movement to get it regulated in Jersey and elsewhere, and he thought no holds barred just had bad connotations. And mixed martial arts had been used in Japan going back to Antonio Inoki in the 70s, but Blatnick is the one that popularized it here. So he started studying jiu-jitsu, and he even rolled with Elio Gracie at one point when Elio was in his 80s, and the other Gracies were like, "No, you just go in there and do your thing." And he got tapped out repeatedly by Elio. So he went in. Nobody knew what was going on, but he went in for some heart surgery. Must have been Monday, and there were complications. And the next thing I know, I'm seeing R.I.P. Jeff Blatnick, and it's just really, really sad thing. And I think the newer generation of UFC fans probably are not even aware of what an instrumental part of the early UFC. He went the early UFCs and in getting it regulated and out of the dark ages. I mean, Jeff Blatnick was a very important person. Then there's Emmanuel Stewart, and this, I had no idea he was sick. Emmanuel Stewart, to me, has the best mind in boxing that I've ever seen. He ran Kronk Gym out in Detroit, in a really, really poor area of Detroit. He took in fighters. He's famous for training Thomas Hearns. He trained Holyfield. He trained Vladimir Klitschko at this point, and he also started announcing for HBO probably, I think, about 10 years ago. And this is what impressed me with Emmanuel Stewart, is the breadth of his knowledge and what he picked up on. There was more than one occasion where I'd be watching a fight. Fighter A starts the fight, first round, he's beating Fighter B. Not badly, but he's winning. Second round, Fighter A is still winning the round, beating Fighter B. And then you'll have Emmanuel Stewart say, Fighter B is going to win this fight easily. And the other announcers will kind of like deride it and poo-poo the idea. Then it turns out, 8th round or so, Fighter B is now winning and doing exactly what Emmanuel Stewart said would happen.
Oh, wow.
And he did this time and again. Like he was the best announcer for boxing that I've ever heard. And it's another death that really got to me when I read about it.
Yeah, it seems like, and I'm almost ashamed to say it, that I was not really, and I was a tough baby, so I really got into MMA. I was a pro wrestling buff, and then The Ultimate Fighter, of course, came on after that, and that's how I got into MMA. But
did you ever see Tommy Hearns against Marvelous Marvin Hagler?
No.
3-round war. Go to YouTube and watch that. It's just 3 rounds. It's one of the best boxing matches in history. It'll make you a boxing fan.
The guys at Low Blow Radio are really trying to get me to become a boxing fan. And they had Ava, what the heck was her name? Ava something. She's a boxer, and they had her on the other day, and it seems like Ava Knight, that's her name. They had her on the other day. She's she holds one of the 9,000 belts that you can get in boxing, and I don't know. Sometimes for me, what turns me off about boxing is the way I feel like it's more like boxing now. It has really got some serious grudges with MMA, and I think it's probably because of the popularity of it.
Yeah.
But
fans are idiots though on both sides. So don't even...
That's very true. That's very true. So
I'm posting this on your Facebook wall. Watch this fight.
All right, let's do it. I'm ready. I'm ready to become a boxing fan. I've never hated boxing. It's always been something that's been hard to keep my attention. I have the attention span of a...
With me in boxing, it's just depending on who I'm watching. Like if it's the Klitschko brothers, I tend to get kind of restless fairly quickly. But watching guys like Andre Ward are just a lot of fun to watch.
Klitschko's, they're death to the sport. They really are.
Oh, the Klitschko brothers! I hear so many people complain about them.
It's just so boring. I wish they'd fight each other. That I'd actually want to see.
Yeah, I really wish they were, a little bit more exciting, because I feel like that's what boxing's missing, is really just super exciting heavyweights, because that's kind of where boxing you could always
kind of needed to be an American too. Like
yeah.
Lennox Lewis was pretty exciting, but not being American. You need someone like with the charisma of Mike Tyson. That was intense. Like if people don't remember, I'm sure Erica remembers, but Justin might not. The Mike Tyson era was amazing.
It was
the mid '80s to late '80s till the Buster Douglas fight, and even afterwards. But like when he was invincible, when people thought he was invincible, it was a Mike Tyson fight was an event, and you were just going to watch 30 seconds and watch someone get knocked out. That was the hope. If it went to the second round, it was like, oh shit.
And I remember as a kid, my parents going to fight parties, and I would go along, and they would watch Mike Tyson, always for Mike Tyson, of course. Watch Mike Tyson.
Tyson was something else.
Yeah.
I compare it with Lesnar, because I sort of felt like the same thing before Lesnar lost, when people would come to my place. There's just like a real energy and something like larger than life.
Yeah.
Like I think Ali certainly had it, and then Tyson, Larry Holmes, unfortunately, was a great fighter, but he didn't really have that aura about him, that charisma. But
yeah.
Tyson had it, and then Lesnar had it, something to that effect in MMA. I mean, you can look at the crazy numbers he did.
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
When you're selling 1 million buys every pay-per-view, you got something.
Exactly. And unfortunately, we did find out. I mean, I think we all kind of knew this, but it's always sad to hear it as definitive as Dana White put it, that Lesnar will never come back to the UFC or
It's
MMA.
a little surprising that Lesnar didn't try to play both sides against each other when his WWE contract was up, to make to leverage them for a little more money.
Yeah.
Like if they think he might go back to fighting, I would have thought he who knows. But yeah, after diverticulitis, that guy fighting's just not for him.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. It's just he really did completely change as a fighter or as an athlete, I should say. After diverticulitis. So.
Took it out of him. I mean, you get a foot of your intestine taken out. I guess it could.
Yeah.
I'd rather not find out.
Yeah,
exactly. I know, right? Every time I get a stomach ache, I'm like, oh no, I've got diverticulitis. My mom's like, shut up and take some Pepto-Bismol.
Hey, I thought of one more thing I wanted to bring up.
Absolutely.
It looks like Anderson against Stephan Bonner did decently well, especially for a Brazil show.
Yeah.
Maybe a 400,000 buys.
Yeah, I mean that is. It's great that it did 400,000 buys. Where are we at right now when we're considering 400,000 buys being?
Well, for a Brazil show, for a fight put
right.
together at the last moment, for Stephan Bonner, who wasn't given a chance by anyone, not bad. Not bad.
Apparently justifiably so, but
yeah, well, it went exactly the way it should.
That was a good card though, overall. Just there's always going to be a couple of stinkers on a card. You can't help that, but for the most part, 153 was an exciting card that didn't really give you a fight that you're like, oh shit, son, this person's is gonna really wreck this division. But we saw a resurgence in John Fitch and him trying to finish fights and
good show.
Yeah,
we
and
all
Anderson Silva doing his thing. I mean, you can't deny that was a really good show. So
Silva is an artist. That's the bottom line. Like the cage is his canvas, the other fighters his paint. Is it not true? When you watch him fight,
dude, it's so funny. He's reminding me a lot of David. What you're saying was kind of a line from a Game of Thrones, where the guy was talking about how this knight was such an amazing swordsman and was just everything he did was so perfect. He said he was like an artist that only painted in red, and that just reminded me so much of what you were just saying.
That's great.
Yes.
But it's absolutely true. Anything done at its highest form is art.
Yeah.
And this is mixed martial arts, so it's clearly an art. And when you watch him at work, that's an artist like at the peak. And I've never seen anyone like this. And who knows if we ever will again. I mean, John Jones might have a great streak at light heavyweight, but he's not Anderson Silva.
No, he's not. No, not.
Anderson Silva doesn't have the physical gifts that John Jones has. If Anderson Silva had that, who knows what the fuck he'd be doing?
Yeah.
Anderson Silva looks a little unassuming.
He really does, because he's not the biggest dude. He's not the buffest dude. And he's not the youngest dude.
Some people thinking that they kick his ass if they just saw him on the street and then learning quickly.
Especially after hearing him talk,
Yeah. He's got the Mike Tyson type of voice going.
I like the jujitsu.
He sounds like the maid from Family Guy.
Family Guy, yeah.
No, Mr. Superman, no here.
God.
It's like
we are terrible people.
Jesus.
We are terrible people. That's okay. That is all right. I'm all right with being a terrible person.
That's the least of our offensive comments.
Especially of today, right?
Yeah,
I feel
seriously.
like today's been a good day for
I think if you go back a half hour, you probably find something.
Or we go back an hour or 2 hours ago when we said rape babies. I don't know how many times.
Oh my God.
Hey, it's a political issue at this point.
Yes, we were being. How
many Republicans? Maybe Republicans should just not discuss rape.
Yeah.
Although they've glommed onto this advertisement. Oh Lord, by what Lena Dunham?
Yeah.
Girls, it's amazing what they try to glom on, because I think they, in their minds, there's some type of equivalence. Just like there's an equivalence when Mitt Romney, hired some females as opposed to policy.
Binders full of women.
Binders full of women.
I'm looking for them, man. I think I have some coming in the mail because
I got some.
You bastard! Can I get like photocopies? They don't have to be good photocopies.
Absolutely.
And they don't even have to be in a binder. You can put them in a folder. I'll take a folder full of women.
I want mine in a Trapper Keeper.
My God.
That's old school.
Yeah, I just
got trapper keepers full of women.
I just took people back.
Oh my God, trapper keeper.
I had trapper keepers.
Oh, once again, we are terrible people, and we make no apologies for it. So you know what? Suck it. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and close out
everyone,
the show.
rape babies included. It was God's will.
Yes.
We're glad you're here.
Binders full of women.
We're glad you're here listening. No matter how you got here.
Sorry to see you go so soon. We probably lost our last listener.
I recommend to all rape babies that they watch the movie Chinatown.
Ooh. Really?
Neither of you have seen it.
No.
Because you would have reacted.
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I have no excuse.
She's my sister and my daughter. She's my sister and my daughter.
Oh, that is just terrible. That is some Law and Order SVU stuff right there. Wow. Apparently, I need to get on the ball and start watching it. I have been trying to watch more interesting movies. Although I don't know if I told you guys about the movie that I recently watched called Ant Farm Dickhole, which is
What the hell?
It's called Ant Farm Dick. I mean, I was with a bunch of friends, and we're like, you know what? We should really watch.
Watch that back to back with Human Centipede.
Human Centipede would look like an Oscar-winning performance compared to Ant Farm Dickhole. Like
it's called Ant Farm Dickhole.
It was about a guy whose penis had ants that lived in them, and they attacked people, which is just bad enough, right? But we watched it knowing it was going to be a bad movie. What we didn't know was that the budget was
filmed on a camcorder?
Say what?
Was this filmed on like a camcorder?
It practically. Like, because they couldn't even get ants, which are readily available outside. You put a piece of bread outside on the sidewalk, you can get ants. They used like those big plastic ants where like the legs don't even bend. They're abnormally large.
This movie sounds terrific.
It was. We watch a lot of horrible movies. Don't get me wrong. We watch some terrible movies. I'm actually, one of my homework assignments is to watch. What was that? What's the one? Is it called Tire? Is that what it's called? It's the one about this like rubber. That's what it's called. It's called Rubber. It's about a tire that that kills people. And I've heard it's an amazingly horrible movie, and I like amazingly horrible movies. Ant Farm Dickhole though just fell right below that. And there's a lot of snatch in the movie. Like 20 minutes in, you're already seeing like 2 or 3 women's vaginas, and you're like, this is just a bit much. Like, what do the vaginas have to do with Ant Farm Dickhole? I feel like
maybe that's an affliction that he got from one of the vaginas.
Are you saying the nudity was gratuitous in this film?
It was. I mean,
I'm surprised. I mean, it sounds like it would stick. A movie named Ant
Farm Dickhole.
Ant Farm Dickhole would stick with the necessities of its plot.
I don't even know what to say. I'm almost embarrassed that I watched it, but I feel like I got to tell people about it because I don't think people realize there are movies out there like that. Also, the guy who wrote and directed it, because it's one of those movies, where the guy is also the key grip and the lighting, and he does the music and all that stuff. But he
also features.
This wasn't a joint effort.
No, this was not a joint effort by anybody. Although there might have been.
Sounds like it would have taken like 3 or 4 people to work on a screenplay like that.
It was so terrible.
He came up with the title himself?
Yes, because some of his other movies have amazing titles like Jesus Christ, Serial Rapist.
That's pretty good, actually.
I was like, really? Even if you're not a religious person, I feel like
awesome,
that movie
so bad, it's awesome.
needs
Jesus
to be
Christ,
off limits.
Serial Rapist.
Yes.
That's great.
Actually, a lot of his movies had the word like rape in the title, and you're like, I think you have problems, dude. Yeah. Well, that's probably in the works right now as we speak. But check it out, everybody. Ant Farm Dickhole, amazingly bad movie. If you're into amazingly bad movies, we couldn't even make it through it, and I've seen some terrible movies, and I couldn't even make it through it. But if you can make it through it. Matter of fact, if you can make it through Ant Farm Dickhole, and then if you can make it through Ant Farm Dickhole and then explain the plot to us live on air during one of our episodes, I'll get you some prize. I'll buy you a T-shirt or a movie or something. If you can do that, there's a prize.
We'll get you your own copy of Ant Farm Dickhole.
Yes, straight up on VHS. We're gonna get you Ant Farm Dickhole. It's not even gonna be like. It's going to be like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy that was burnt onto a CD that was then copied to a VHS and then copied back to a CD and then copied back on a VHS. That's what you're going to get for Ant Farm Dickhole. All right, guys. We can stop talking about Ant Farm Dickhole. I just like saying it. I really like saying it. I did watch Badass. Have you heard of the movie Badass?
I've seen Kick-Ass.
Like with a few extra S's.
It's
spoof on blaxploitation.
No, it's you're talking about Sweet Sweetback's
Badass
song. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the movie that was originally funded as being a porno. No, Badass is starring Danny Trejo. It's a decent movie. It's on Netflix. If you have Netflix, it's not a bad movie.
Sounds like it has more potential than Ant Farm Dickhole.
It does. It really does.
Is Ant Farm Dickhole on Netflix?
It is.
Is it?
I don't know.
Oh, Jesus.
Ant Farm Dickhole.
Can you find it at Amazon?
Is it on Netflix? Let's see. Netflix? Question mark? Let's see what the Google says. You can see a trailer for Ant Farm Dickhole on YouTube still. Let's see what Rotten Tomatoes gives it. There are no reviews for it yet. Nobody even bothered to review it. That's when you know a movie is bad. But nobody has even bothered to
I don't know why they judge it by its title.
I don't understand that either. I think that's it's 1.7 out of 10 on IMDb. And that's only out of 154 votes. So only like 160 people have seen this movie, including me and my friends. And I think 1.7 might be a bit high. I think that's giving it...
Sounds like it should be about 0.2.
Yeah, it's
0.2.
It's about that bad. Check it out. You have to see the badness for yourself. That's the joy of bad movies. Is witnessing the horribleness yourself and wondering what were these actors thinking when they were making this movie. Unlike the people who made that movie that was horribly racist against brown people. What was the movie called? The Muslim one, the one where it was nothing but white people and brown face. You know, where they blamed the riots on, where the
I know what you're talking about.
I can't remember what it's called. It was like if you watch it. First off, the people who were in that movie, who one of the chicks is like suing Google and the director and all this stuff because she didn't realize what kind of movie she was in. You were in brown face, sweetheart. How did you not know what kind of movie it was? Like, this is not the 1950s where that would be perfectly acceptable. You know, we don't want to put the Arabs in this. We're going to put white people in brown face. That would happen during that time. But now? Really? In 2000 and now, you didn't realize that you were in a horribly racist movie? Whatever, people. That's what I'm saying. And that's what Erica has to say for the day. All right, let's close up the show. Any closing remarks from you guys?
I'll be starring in the sequel to Ant Farm Dickhole.
Oh, awesome. Will that be like beetle vagina or something?
No, that's disgusting,
Ant
Erica.
Farm Dickhole too.
The second dickhole.
The second dickhole.
God, Erica, get your mind out of the gutter.
The dickening.
The dickening. We so need to be making our own movies at this point. Anything from you,
Can't
David?
get any worse than Ant Farm Dickhole.
It really can't.
Or its sequel.
David's going to be writing and directing Ant Farm Dickhole too.
The dickening.
The dickening.
Holy shit.
If we didn't lose all our listeners by now.
Like Terrence has been like, I'm done.
Stuff. Come on.
It is. That's some good golden stuff. That's some good stuff right there. That's stuff that's going on my Facebook wall immediately. All right, guys. That's it for us. We'll be back next Friday, whether you're looking forward to it or not, after our last conversation.
About dickholes.
About dickholes. God, I hope Loretta Hunt doesn't come back and listen to this show.
Oh, we
telling her family and friends to listen to the show.
Jesus.
We had such a nice, good quality conversation with her, and then Erica, you brought up.
I mentioned boobs.
I did. I did
mention boobs.
I
did not
boobs.
respond. I was on mute.
had to mention boobs. I mean, I couldn't help it, guys. I'm sorry. I can't do the show completely serious. It's got to be at least a 5% boob mention, at least. And
We've been talking about dick holes for the past 20
Now we're
minutes.
talking about Romney.
Ching.
Ching. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and then as soon as she got off the phone, the conversation quickly went back to just not goodness. And I take responsibility for the Ant Farm dick hole commercial.
My goodness. Degenerated once Loretta hung up.
Yes, it really did. And the guy who directed Ant Farm dick hole should be paying us money for saying it this many times. It's just fun to say. If you're at
it's
home,
not like he has any money.
No, he really doesn't. He couldn't even afford to get real
He
ants.
put it all into his budget.
Real ants. It's not that hard. And then just a trail of sugar water will lead them exactly where you want them to go. And even I know that.
Should have worked on this project.
I really should have. I should have been consulted.
Yeah, you've got some great ideas.
Is there a Facebook page for this Ant Farm dick hole?
I don't know, but there might need to be. Are we going to be making?
There is actually a Facebook page.
Is there?
And 132 people like it.
Oh.
There is. Yes, there's. He's got ants in his pants.
Yes, that is the subtitle for the movie.
What a tagline!
Yeah. And the dick that they use on screen, it's obviously
okay. You know what? We're not talking about that.
It's like a $20 dildo that they bought. It's just really bad. It's just not good. Not a good movie.
I'm gonna have to.
Sorry. All right. We are for reals closing up shop. So we'll see you guys next Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time on FightFans Radio. Hopefully you show up again. We apologize for the dick hole conversation.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. We really don't. All right, guys. Peace.